I have to remind my clients a lot that not making a decision is a decision.
Mm.
When it comes to money, you cannot stick your head in the sand because decisions have to be made. Things have to happen. And there is such a risk of, analysis paralysis. That is very real. And I think that just comes from women want to be educated before making a decision. They want to feel like they understand. We're not quick to just jump in, especially when it comes to money because it just feels overwhelming. So a lot of time women just will do nothing. And it's not because I'm choosing to do nothing. It's like, I want to make sure I'm doing the best thing. So I'm not going to do anything until I'm certain of it. But that ends up sometimes doing more harm than good.
Welcome to the Sunlight Tax Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for self-employed people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, design nerd, tax pro, author of Taxes for Humans, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're a creative, wellness, or mission-driven entrepreneur who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place. Shari Rash, I'm so happy to have you here. Let me do a quick intro and let's jump in. Shari Rash is a nationally recognized financial advisor, money mindset expert, and the host of the podcast Everyone's Talking Money, named a top 4 money podcast by the New York Times with over 24 million downloads. She's also the founder of GWA Wealth, a virtual advisory firm helping women navigate money with confidence, clarity, and zero shame. With 18 years of experience in a no-nonsense style, Shari breaks down complex financial topics into real-life conversations that empower women to own their worth and build lasting wealth. She's been named a 2024 Best Wealth Manager and Advisor Under 40 by Investment News and holds an Advisor for Women certificate from Willow. When she's not talking money, she's a mom of 4, golden doodle wrangler, and an unapologetic lover of grand millennial decor. Shari, it's so good to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I want to just start by hearing a little more about your story. How did you get into this money stuff?
I'm one of the few that started my career in finance. I graduated with a finance degree. I wanted to be an advisor. I feel like most of the time financial services find you versus you finding it, but I found it. So I graduated college. I wanted to be an advisor, got all my licenses. I came to the realization that most people are not giving their life savings to a 22-year-old fresh out of college. It was shocking when I learned that. So I worked more on the corporate side for 13, 14 years. And then I still had this nagging voice in my head that said, this isn't exactly what you wanted to do. So that's when I then started GWA Wealth.
Love it. I love it. And tell me a little more about that. Who do you serve? What problem are you solving for your clients? And what does a client look like to you?
My clients are generally high achieving, good income earning, single women. They could be divorced, never married, widowed, or the breadwinner and the sole financial decision maker of their family. So they're the ones making the decisions. But what often happens is they're making decisions or not making any decisions at all. So then by default, decisions are being made and they don't necessarily feel good about what's going on. So it's a lot of questions of, am I doing the right thing? Or I've gotten myself this far. Now I really need help, because I've gotten here by luck and I really haven't messed things up yet. I don't want to. So I need help. That's most of my clients.
I love it. Well, tell me a little more about that because I'm interested in that, not making decisions, that kind of paralysis thing. I see that too. So can we talk about that a little bit? What do you observe?
Yeah. I have to remind my clients a lot that not making a decision is a decision. When it comes to money, you cannot stick your head in the sand because decisions have to be made. Things have to happen. And there is such a risk of, analysis paralysis or paralysis by analysis, however you say it. That is very real. And I think that just comes from women want to be educated before making a decision. They want to feel like they understand like everything about it before making a decision. We're not quick to just like jump in, especially when it comes to money, because it just feels overwhelming and like you feel like you can really mess things up. So a lot of time women just will do nothing. And it's not because I'm choosing to do nothing. It's like, I want to make sure I'm doing the best thing. So I'm not going to do anything until I'm certain of it. But that ends up sometimes doing more harm than good.
That's interesting. Do you have anything that you talk to people about, like to get more comfortable, to get to a place to make decisions, like a certain level of education to get, or even just like a book that you love? Like what do you recommend to people to get to that point where they feel that readiness?
So
If it's even possible.
I do like to let my clients know, like, we can make mistakes, but unless like you're not filing taxes, unless, unless you're not paying any bill ever, you're not paying your mortgage, like you really can't screw things up that bad. Like anything you do, like, and it is a wrong decision, quote unquote, wrong decision. Like it can be undone. Things can be undone when it comes to money. Money is very forgiving. Again, unless we're doing like the real naughty stuff and like, then that's a whole nother thing. But,
For sure.
But so I give them that, like, we can't screw things up too bad. So like, let's do something, because not doing anything is worse than like doing something and it not being perfect.
Yeah.
Also, when I speak to my clients, I always encourage, like, find a voice that resonates with you in this space, right? There can be a book that works great for one person, but not for another. I mean, I personally like can only read personal finance books for like 15 minutes at a time because I'm falling asleep. So like, so like, I don't know if that's, that might be the answer for some and not for everyone, but reading, there is a risk of having too much information, because then when you start hearing from too many different voices, they may start to conflict, right? There could be differing opinions on things. So if you're trying to get so much information and educate yourself so much, again, it could end up doing more harm than good, because you're then getting overwhelmed and then like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this. So find a voice that you like, that speaks in a way that you understand it, you can relate to them, you like them as a person, and then just go with it. When I'm working with my clients, like I really try to avoid the acronyms. Like financial services is full of acronyms. So I'm trying to avoid the acronyms. I'm explaining things in a way that they can then, when they go hang out with their friends or neighbors that weekend, like they can explain it to them. So I want to make sure you can repeat what we're doing when you explain it to other people. And by doing that, that's super empowering for my clients.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. Okay, so I have a question. People ask me this question a lot, and I'm going to ask you. There's kind of an order of operations when it comes to extra money, like money that you have beyond your cost of living. And this is the fun part, right? Like this is where you get to invest. This is where you get to get involved. But before investing, in my world, paying off debt, right, is an issue. So can you talk to me about like an order of operations, and specifically when it comes to debt, if you have any strategies or thoughts about managing that, or like managing multiple priorities at once?
I love this question because this is like what I focus on all the time. I found, especially when working with women, that it's really hard for women to make a big decision because they have questions on the little things. And when I say little things, it's how much money should I have in my checking account? What's an emergency fund and how much should I have in there? What debt should I pay off first, or what should I focus on? And many advisors don't answer those questions because they don't make any money on it. They only make money on the investment. So like they're starting at K when we still need to address A, B, and C. So a
Mhm.
lot of women aren't comfortable, or they feel like, well, we're moving too fast because I'm now investing. eh, But they don't necessarily know why it feels like we're moving too fast. But because
Mhm.
it's like, well, I still have questions on my emergency fund, and you're already talking to me about contributing $500 a month to an investment account.
Mhm.
So I love like the order of operations, and that's how I work with every single one of my clients when they come in. I actually created a program, and I love that this wasn't even talked about ahead of time, but it's so perfect. Um, I created this order of operations because one, it's nice and neat, and it's a process. It's
Mhm.
repeatable. You can explain it to someone else when they ask you, "Oh, what are you doing with your advisor?" So the first things we go through are, how much should I have in my bank accounts? Like, what are all
Mhm.
the different bank accounts I should have? So checking account. So how much should I have in my checking account? And we decide that. And this answer is different for everyone. Like, there's
Yeah.
some that make a lot of sense to have $10,000 in my checking account. Other people are like, I'm cool if my checking account goes down to $500, like whatever works for them. Then the next step is, do you have a fully funded emergency fund?
Mhm.
So I really don't want ish, I want to see an emergency fund established before we start tackling the debt. Should it be
Hmm.
fully funded? Meh, maybe not. Depends on how much the debt is and how much a fully funded emergency fund is. And again, that's
Mhm.
different for everyone. But I at least want to see some money in the bank just sitting there
Mm.
with the sole purpose of an emergency. Because if you direct all of your extra money to paying down debt and then emergency comes up, you then have to use your credit card. If that's what
Mm.
you're working to pay down, you then have to use your credit card to pay off that debt. So it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps backwards.
Yeah.
So by having some cash sitting there ready to be used if an emergency comes, that's important. And then we can then work towards the debt. My clients will ask me questions a lot of like, well, should I put more money towards my mortgage, or should I pay it towards the debt, or should I invest it? And the answer I usually give is, well, let's figure out how your dollar's working the hardest.
Mm.
And I also remind them of, we increase your net worth 2 ways. The first is saving, and that's usually just what people think of. I have to increase my net worth by saving. But the second is getting rid of debt. And getting rid of high interest debt has a more positive impact on your net worth than investing it does. Because in
Yeah.
general, your dollar, if you invest it, in general earns like 7% rate of return. So if someone comes to me and says, well, should I pay off? It'll feel really good if I pay off my mortgage. I have $100,000 left on my mortgage. Okay. What's your interest rate? And a lot of
Mhm.
times it's, well, because everyone refinanced a few years ago, it's 3%.
Mhm.
And I say,
Mhm.
okay, well, I get it'll feel better, but mathematically, it makes more sense to invest than pay off your mortgage.
Mhm.
Um, so we walk through that. But then to your debt, does it make more sense to pay off my credit card than invest?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's 22% interest. So your dollar's working a whole lot harder getting rid of that debt versus investing it.
Yeah, for sure. That makes so much sense. It's really nice to hear you say it, though. I don't feel like I can hear it enough.
I
I
know I
love it.
like went on, but it's like that is like one of my favorite things, like talking about like this stuff, because this is what everyone has questions on.
Yeah.
Women don't have questions on what stock should I buy. Like I've never been asked that, or I will hear like, well, saw on TikTok, and it's like, all right, stop, let's stop that
Mhm.
conversation. But
Mhm.
these are the questions that we have: is how can I use my money in the most efficient way possible that really benefits me?
For sure. Well, it makes all the sense. Yeah. I love talking about like making your dollars work harder. It's like a great way to frame it. Do you have like a favorite tip when you're talking to people? Something that comes up all the time for you?
Something that comes up a lot that I say to a lot of my clients is, do things that like your 5-month, 5-year, 15-year self will benefit from. Don't
Mm.
just focus on like retiree self. Like
Mm.
most people have their net worth in 2 places: the equity of their home and their retirement accounts.
Mhm.
And I'm guilty of this as well. Like I'm so passionate about it because I'm guilty of this. I fell victim to this as well. When
Yeah.
I first started working, I mean, I shoved so much money into my 401k, maxed it out, because I'm like, I have to think of retirement. And it's like, I'm 23 years old. It's like, you're going to work for a long time, Shari. Like retirement's not close. But put so much money in retirement and like, is that good? Yeah. But I didn't didn't invest or save for 35-year-old Shari or 45-year-old Shari. And
Mhm.
that's just with the different types of dollars. So saving after tax dollars versus just retirement dollars, either IRA, pre-tax, or Roth. So that is my big lesson is don't have all of your net worth wrapped up in the equity of your home and
Mm.
your retirement because it's not accessible. Like, sure, you can get a HELOC, but you're paying a ton of interest on that money. So you can get a line of credit on your equity, but you're paying interest on that. And that's your own money coming back to you, but you're paying
Mhm.
interest. Sure, you can access your retirement account, but you're then paying potential taxes and penalties, or you're paying interest if you take a loan on it. So like that money's there too, but it really doesn't mean it's not available to you. So
Mhm.
invest and do things for the pre-retirement you as well that you can enjoy.
I love that. That's a really nice perspective. I'm totally guilty of being like the squirrel who just like stashes all the nuts and like sometimes have had to be reminded like, "Oh, but you're trying to like live today, right? A
Yeah,
little bit. You want to like have some fun in the life you're living before you retire."
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love it. So as we kind of like wrap up, I want to ask you if there's so much financial advice out there, and you kind of were talking about like it's hard when you start listening to a lot of different voices that can feel hard to sort through. So I'm curious from you if you feel like there's anything outdated. Like what is the most outdated financial advice that you hear?
I think one of the outdated advice is like max out your 401k. Like it has pros, but it has cons. So like
Mhm.
weigh them. Don't just say, okay, I have to max out my 401k. Has pros and
Mhm.
cons. Stocks, just buying stocks. Like you will never hear me talk about a stock I bought or, try this one, try that one. Like my uncles will talk to me about it. I'm like, I'm not even going there with you. Like it's
Mhm.
impossible to know what you're buying and be researched on it and when to buy, when to sell. It's like, okay, if you are going to buy a stock, like just hold it forever. Like plan on never selling it because it's like ups and downs. So I think like the whole stock thing, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously there's the outliers like the Nvidia and, getting into Amazon when it was low, Google when it was low. Like obviously that stuff exists and it happens and it's awesome for the people that get in early. But that's not everyone, right? That's not the majority of the
Yeah.
population. So don't focus so much on like what stock should I buy? Just focus on being diversified. And I love exchange traded funds, ETFs.
Mhm.
And an ETF is, a mutual fund is a basket of stocks, they call it, or a basket of investments that you can
Mhm.
buy one mutual fund and be diversified. That's the pro. The
Mhm.
con of mutual fund is that they're expensive and they're not super transparent. And then we have a stock, which like you know exactly what you're buying. When you buy Coca-Cola stock, you're buying Coca-Cola. Stocks are inexpensive.
Mhm.
A ETF, exchange traded fund, is when a stock and a mutual fund have a baby. And the ETF is that. It's a combination. It has essentially has the good qualities of both.
Mm.
And ETFs were created originally to just track an index. So if your listeners were to stumble upon CNBC and see the red and the green at the bottom of the screen and the Dow and the S&P 500, those are indexes. You can't buy an index, right? Because the indexes just track companies inside of
Mhm.
them. So you can't buy the index, but ETFs were created to mimic the S&P 500, mimic the Dow Jones. And new ETFs are coming out every single day that do more. So like there's healthcare ETFs, there's women with companies with female CEO ETFs, like very specific, very cool. Like this is the future. Like ETFs have been around for a while, but this is the future of investing because they're inexpensive. They're transparent. You know exactly what's in them and you sell them, buy and sell them like a stock. So the moment you want to get rid of it, you can get rid of it. Where with a mutual fund, you have to wait until the end of the day. So one outdated piece of advice is like, what stock should I buy? It's like, no, like what ETF? And like just to kind of wrap it up, like if you buy Johnson & Johnson, you live and die by what Johnson & Johnson is doing. Where Merck, Pfizer could be killing it and Johnson & Johnson's tanking, it doesn't matter to you. Where if you buy a healthcare ETF, exchange traded fund, you're doing what the industry is doing. So you're getting a much more diversified experience, hopefully with a little less volatility, but you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket.
Totally. You're not picking the needle in the haystack, you're getting the whole haystack.
Exactly.
Yep. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, Shari. I feel like that was a really great breakdown of those concepts for my listeners. So I appreciate it. Can you tell me where my listeners can find you?
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about how I work with my clients, you can visit my website, gwawealth.com. If you want to listen to my podcast, it's called Everyone's Talking Money, TALKIN. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. I have 2 episodes a week, and it's just really about removing some of that junk and the emotion when it comes to our money. But then also we have, personal finance best practices in there as well.
Lovely. Thank you so much for being here as a guest on the Sunlight Tax Podcast. I really appreciate you, Shari. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. It really helps. I'm so grateful. My tax guide, Taxes for Humans, is available wherever you buy books and at sunlighttax.com/book. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links I reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.